here. I have kind of an odd background, but I'll share a little bit about it first, just so you don't question why the hell I'm here and why is this bizarre woman up here talking with me. Hopefully with and not at is my goal, as much as possible. So I will admit something that I'm a little bit ashamed of right off the beginning, which is that I did go to law school. And I had my degree in the closet. I'm very out of the closet. The rest of my life, I'm very out and queer, but I'm more ashamed of law school. Are there other lawyers? No? See, they're also ashamed. Okay, and so some of this I'm going to have, Josh, are you here? And you're going to get tired. So hopefully with you. So Josh has got a mic just because I think you guys record this so you can all hear each other. Do you mind speaking publicly? I went to law school, person with the scarf. I'll get your name in just 1 second once we get the mic to you so everyone can hear, not just me. What's your name?
Claire. I'm Claire from the Benevolent Society.
Claire from the Benevolent Society. I do apologize, first of all, if I destroy anyone's accent. I will probably mimic, because I'm weak and like a bird. Claire
Yeah.
in North American. Benevolent Society. Wow. What? That just sounds so 19th century Britain with prams and little kids that have been left on a doorstep. What does that do?
We run a range of programs across New South Wales and Queensland, across areas like mental health, early childhood, families, communities, all sorts of different things.
You do a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, I need benevolence and I live in South Wales. What do I get? You give me a meal, someone will nurse me, make out with me. What do I get from you guys?
Just a range of things. We have a lot of social workers that are working out on the field, helping people in areas where they're struggling.
Like specifically?
Psychology.
My math is bad.
Range of things. Psychologists.
Hold on, what was that?
Psychologists.
Psychologists. They help me with depression?
Yeah.
Like always?
Yeah,
Okay.
we run mental health programs as well.
There's a thing, I'm depressed, you help me.
Yeah.
But then there's a ton more stuff.
Yeah. It's a broad spectrum.
Is this a government-run thing or no?
Majority government funded, but we also rely on private donors as well.
Notice how your voice, Claire, just kind of got a little tight, a little bit in here once it was like, we rely on private donors. That doesn't sound like that's a pleasant part of the organization. No experience?
Oh, well, I'm sure it's not an easy part, but I'm sure a lot of people here also have to rely on public donations as well to run some of their programs.
Rely on, that just sounds so like you're in need of Benevolent Society for the Benevolent Society. It's terrible. Okay, I don't mean to mock at all. I'm with you in the I don't like the word struggle. We need a better word. Is social justice on some level part of almost what everyone does here? Yeah, okay, so like let's make the world suck less. If I say things that I'm not allowed to say, I was taught, my impression was that Australia was like blunt Canadians and I could say anything here. So if I slip into, I don't know, maybe it won't mean the same thing here, but you'll let me know if I've gone past some kind of line. So I'm sure it'll be clear. Okay, so Claire, you do litigation for this?
No, trained as a...
Because you suffered, and I know that suffering through law school.
Yeah, that's right.
Law school, by the way, is the most expensive but effective contraception known to mankind. It works totally. All these people, everyone's afraid, having too many children, send them to law school. There'll be no children.
I actually do marketing and communications for the Benevolent Society, but...
You left lawyering. Yeah. Oh, then can we applaud Claire, please? Good for you. All lawyers aren't evil, but it's really not the job for most people. Yeah. It's a rare person who loves it, and to them I say, God bless you and everything else you believe in. Like, that's great. Okay, so you do Marcom for Benevolent Society Fixing People. Okay, thanks very much. Josh, you mind taking that back? So you may have noticed, like, how long it takes to figure out sometimes, and this is not unique to you, Claire. This is really common, and it's more common, I find, with nonprofits and NGOs than companies. Although companies do it also. Startups less. When you try to find out what someone actually does, like practically does, it can be a good 8, 9 questions to figure it out. By which time, unless you're as obsessive as I am, you probably gave up. So just wanting to know what someone does and then why they do it is pretty critical, and it sounds really simple, but it's so easy to get caught up in this kind of corporate-y, organizationally, I don't want to offend anyone, we had a committee meeting and there's 20 donors and all these stakeholders or other pretend words we come up with to talk like in the organizational world before you know why you're doing something. Because you're obviously trying to make people's lives better in a quite a specific way. And the specifics matter. That's true in comedy, and it's true in all art, and it's true to me, business, especially post-social media, we all are performers now. Some of us like it more than others. And really, business needs art the most. And I think nonprofits maybe even more than business. And by this I mean a different kind of openness and a clarity of why. And conversational stuff, the stuff I've learned the most about to share, but by no means do I hopefully will learn from all of you, doesn't work real well when you speak in abstract, non-specific PowerPoint, no disrespect to our wonderful sponsors here before, but the stuff that's designed to make everyone feel equally bland about what you're doing and not that clear. I mean, you might know because you do it all day long, but I don't know because I don't do it. So that's just one kind of thing I've found. I did not practice law, even for a minute. I was sort of driven by law school to comedy. I started performing in law school because I couldn't take it. And because I wanted to say what I thought, which apparently was very welcome on a stage. It was a little bit harder in class. But I cared a lot about social justice. I still do. And when I became American, I'm both Canadian and American, and I took the, you know, when she asked me when I took the pledge and signed the test and everything, she asked me also about law school. I said, oh, I still care about justice. I just found out law school was not a good way to get it. And to me, part of the really exciting moment we're living in, and I think social media is a huge tipping point in the culture. I believe that business, and I'd say nonprofits too, I think nonprofits think they were doing this though long before business did. They're all trying to solve the same problem. I think social justice and fighting homophobia and sexism and all the isms that we did a good 19th century job of delineating exactly every way in which people are hurt and describing it and footnoting it and writing theories and stuff about pain. We're great with the pain. I think we're in a moment where we're trying to do something we don't know how to do well, which is how to be ourselves together, which means publicly. Because to me, justice is about regard for someone and people's being respected. You have to give respect. It's about being able to see who someone is. And so conversation is, to me, like the mosh pit of that. Like, it's getting in and doing it. It's not really conversational unless someone can tell you you're full of, they say shite here, right? Shit? Will that translate? I just wanted to get like the local, I want to be all hip. Shit or shite? Shit. Yeah, well done. Thank you for tumbling, my friend. What's your name? Earl. Earl doesn't even need a mic. That's fantastic. Yeah, so who wants that? Nobody wants that. So that's part of my problem with the law school and how I ended up in the startup world. So I started working on the web at the very beginning of the web. After the film, I was in the film business. It was clear to me that movies were going to go through the web. And I ended up in Silicon Valley quite early as a part of a group of people at Apple that helped create webcasting and worked with lots of different startups. And I started performing in that world. So I had this weird mix of all this stuff I'd done in law school. I was still very much an activist and trying to organize people. It drove me crazy. I'm exactly the kind of person people would have predicted would be running a big nonprofit by now, but I wanted to smash my head into a wall every time I tried to do something, which is why I didn't end up doing it. But I'm a believer that some of that can change, because the less we have intense formality, the less everything's in a hierarchical structure, I think the more things can move. A network, I'm a very optimistic person, despite everything I think that I've seen in what networked stuff can do and ways of being, how it can return us to being ourselves and being with the people. I don't know that you're dealing with at the Benevolent Society of South Wales, Claire, and Earl, you work with, you help people out doing random things. So tech stuff, and often in nonprofit world. Always, because you would like to not suck at being a human. Right.
Because there's no profit there.
Watch out! You've got a mic handed to you. Thanks, Josh.
Okay, always with the lowest socioeconomic groups, the poorest people.
Because?
Because there's no profit there and we're a not-for-profit.
You want to be sure that someone has no money.
Pretty close, and they're not hard to find.
But here's the thing. Money and value are not the same thing, right?
Exactly.
So but you're a bit of a geek?
Nope.
No?
No.
You
I'm
do
a
IT?
troublemaker. No, I turn on my computer, I swear it like anybody else.
You don't code?
Nope.
All right.
No.
So coders, nobody? I one, he's like also hidden. The two, you sure you're not sure? You're willing to admit it. You should be proud because you're like leading the culture in my opinion now. So that the value thing is critical in the conversational thing, right? Like, so do you feel like you're serving that, like you're helping somebody, or are they who's solving the problem, and what's the problem?
The problem is that the world sucks when you have too many people begging on the street. And so if we can live in a world where that happens less often and we can do something useful about it.
And the specific kind of problems you get into solving on a day-to-day basis?
Because we're techies. I mean, if I was a road digger, I would be digging roads in places that didn't have roads.
For you, the problems are I can't get online or something like that.
No, it's that people's lives suck, and going online may be a way you solve that, but that's only incidental. And we try not to focus on the technology, we focus on the problem.
On the problem, and that changes the problems you're working on change day to day? Beyond
Mostly,
just
yeah.
general suckitude, like a specific
Right, our biggest problem right now
experience
is that we have a really successful program that's going to be going on for a number of years, providing internet access and computer training for poor people. But what the hell are we going to do next? Because the things that are happening now are happening so fast that an institution, an organization can't move quickly enough to catch up.
Love that. Can I get Josh? Thanks to Earl from, where are you from, by the way? New Zealand. All right. Which is also, you're from New Zealand, Claire? Why does South Wales sound to me like it's in New Zealand? New South Wales, I should know, is Australia. Okay. I'm learning. I can try to trip you up on Saskatchewan or something equally Canadian, I guess. Okay, so how it doesn't work well enough, does it? That's sort of like this top-down stuff, it just practically doesn't work. So that's, to me, the beauty of this opportunity, this technical moment, is to learn all the human stuff that means, which is the best way to get stuff done fast is for everyone to do it, which means everyone has some answer, which means these people that you're supposedly helping benevolently are maybe solving the problem themselves. Maybe you're not the fixer. And that's also kind of a conversational dynamic. What if you're connected in it together and you're sort of iteratively, like websites have been built, and that's sort of been the dynamic of the web for 15 years. We try something, we constantly update it. It happens in public like a performance. Everyone can see what goes wrong. Maybe, but then people can talk back and change stuff and tell us we're full of shit or shite, you know. That's critical. If someone can't tell you you're full of shit, you're not having a conversation. You are experiencing and creating an environment of conformity or passive-aggressive politeness. You can take your choice, but there's no real engagement. So you're not going to have emotional engagement. You're not going to have social engagement. Why care if someone knows everything? I mean, you can passively, if you want to passively take in data, we have this genius thing for data transfer. It's called the internet. You don't really need to be with each other in real life at the real moment, even though the web's moving to real time to do that. You can just kind of do that on your own. So the social flow is really a key thing. And I learned a lot about this by performing for a lot of geeks. I was at South by Southwest one year doing a show for all my pals, some of whom built super famous sites and stuff. And I did this little setup for a joke. I said, who has repetitive stress injury here? You know, if you go to a comedy club, people ask general questions, like they don't know the answer. And then someone yelled, we can't raise our hands. And I was like, that is so better than anything I had. It's like, what if I don't write all the jokes? Which is a bizarre comedy thing to say, which is why I'm weird to comics and I make a little more sense to geeks. It's like, what if I did this like object-oriented software? Standard comedy question. So I've spent a lot of years trying to figure out how do I create some of the emotional feeling of something theatrical, which I love, this togethered feeling. Well, the whole time is funny, and sometimes I'm funny, but how do I create an environment? How do I create these conditions for this to happen? Because they'll be funnier than me. I might be wrong, you know? And the play is fun. I liked the improv. So that's part of how I started doing it. And I have a show where I bake cookies with everybody in the so-called audience. I've been doing that for a lot of years. I made 50,000 chocolate chip cookies, making the show. You've chocolate, and I'm going to sound like an obnoxious North American. You have that here, right? No. Who cares? You're like, it's not like I landed on Mars. I haven't been here before. I'm very excited. Okay. So I'm telling you this just to explain kind of where I got it from. I started doing stuff that we were doing online in the room. What it is like, then it was a listserv, like a thread. How to keep the thread going. How does this work? How do I get this live performative feeling with using this stuff I'd seen online? Just before we get to what gets called Web 2.0 and Flickr and really Tribe, kind of early so-called social networking. I mean, social media is so early. Please, by the way, right? Like that having a Facebook page is not a conversation. Someone said, you guys, is that like a given for you guys? Because sometimes people don't know, like, we're going to be engaged and we're going to have a Twitter account and I will tweet once a day and we will have a conversation with our engaged membership who will rely on to fund our, this kind of, I'm going to have this piece of technology, which probably Earl you've heard, right? I'm going to have this thing and then magically it's going to make all these magical things that people do happen just because I had this thing on a computer. Which you're right, the problems are human problems and the machines kind of need to work for us. They won't automate it. But your experience, if you spend enough time really in the web and in a network online, even if you can't do it in real life, will be transformative if you start being willing to not have answers and to have a lot more questions. So one, what's the thing you're specifically doing is really helpful. And two, like what the hell do you care about, which is usually the thing you're specifically doing. Like why, Claire, I don't know why you wanted specifically to work for the Benevolent Society, but that's a really central difference between presentation and conversation. One is I'm going to transfer data to you. Here's the data. Suck it up. Let's go. You'll be smarter when it's all over. You think? No? Yes? You with me? And the other is just holding a question, really, which is kind of the job of the entire organization and most businesses, probably. Because I don't know, Earl, you want to make the world suck less, that's a pretty big problem to solve. Hopefully that'll get done in your lifetime, but maybe not. And maybe there's a specific way, like how can I do IT to make the world suck less? I'm not so sure about Benevolent Society. Mind if I ask what it is that you're trying to solve? You're too what? You're too scared? All right. Yeah, I'm not into making people do anything either. That won't help. So, you want to answer what you're doing? All right. Thanks. So what is the problem, if there is one that... Oh, you already know. Yeah, I don't have to rephrase it.
Young people who are going through tough times often don't seek help, and we support young people who are going through tough times. That's what we do.
My boyfriend broke up with me. You help me with that?
Absolutely, because for young people, emotional relationship breakups actually can be really, really traumatizing.
Right, okay. Brian E. Walker, Headspace. That's the name of your is it in Australia?
Yes, yes.
Do I have to stop asking Australia? Is everybody here from Australia? Yes, no, okay. Because I've been told do not assume that of people who are not from, New Zealand's a totally different place and probably other countries here that I'm going to offend by not knowing that. Okay, so young people, any problem, they have no money, you help them with that?
Yep, free or very, very, very low cost.
Okay, will you help them get money?
We have vocational support, so we can help them get jobs.
You're like the Benevolent Society. It's like, you got any problem, we'll solve it? You guys really have interesting nonprofits. Okay, it's like all consuming. So Tummeling, which if anybody, I don't know why you would, but there's I have a podcast called tumblevision.tv, and there's a talk I did at Google. It's part of, I think, how I got found here. Called How to Tummel. Tumbling is a word for this sort of conversational network kind of weaving. It's an old Yiddish word. Here, I'm going to out my Jewness. No Jews? Do they have them here? One. We needed someone to hate. We brought them here. No? Yes? Did I meet you before? Yes. Karen. Close. And a little bit in front of you. Debbie, 2 Jews. That's about the right ratio for the globe. So, all right. So it's an old Yiddish is like a Ashkenazi Jewish language. It's almost gone. Don't worry, like all the other old languages. But it means like someone got hired to entertain at a wedding to make sure everyone danced. So you're entertaining, but you're with everybody, and you're sort of helping get them more involved. And we just didn't have a good word. Community manager, what we weren't too happy with, because generally community managers are sort of glorified pink collar. We need a woman or non-socially offensive male to babysit a bunch of people on a mailing list or on a web page so we can act as though we're engaged with our community of our membership, right? I mean, that happens a lot. This is like something I think is quite strategic and a fundamental change to how, like the problem Earl is pointing out. It's slow, hierarchy is slow. One person's in charge, they're telling a ton of people to do, there's sort of a stopgap, you have to keep going through that person. You need lots of people tumbling to make stuff move faster, which is, tumbling is to myself and the people I do this podcast with, Kevin Marks, now at Salesforce, and Deb Schultz was at Altimeter Group. It's like a replacement for CEO strategy. It's a better word for not, I'm in charge, everyone listen to me, but my job is to help the conversation continue. So, to me, the organizations that you're running, rather than a closed thing, if you see them kind of more open and networked, which is everyone you're serving, which according to Bryony and Claire is just a lot of people. I mean, it sounds like your organizations would deal with thousands and thousands, maybe more. That's a lot of people, which is a lot of resource. Instead of seeing as people we only just have output to, they could have people we have input from. You know, when you run Twitter, I mean, it's part of how we have hashtags, right? The hashtag came from Chris Messina and everybody else using it. It did not come from Evan, Biz, and Jack deciding we should all have hashtags. So everybody who uses Twitter came up with stuff about how Twitter should work, and other people just started using it. We're like, great idea, we like it. We don't know how to keep a thread going, we'll just come up with something. So that to me is a much bigger mindset shift and much more difficult to change than just using the technology, but they go often together. Because if you're using wikis and you're using Twitter and you're using them truly in an open, networked way, it's really hard to stay quite presentational because it's public and everyone can tell you you're full of shit or you're wrong or I think you should do this. And then you can respond or you cannot respond. And every time you don't respond, everything you do when you're in public sends a social message. So everybody else, either, Claire, maybe they can see what you're doing, the people who might want to go to the Benevolent Society already did. They will see your organization, or even better, they'll see Claire or a person they might know, or they will not. And both of those are social signals. Like, I saw this person, they listened to me. I called them up, or I had a question and it was responded to, or I had an idea and something happened. Or I got an acknowledgement, which is a key thing in conversation. You don't know you're being listened to unless there's acknowledgement from a person. And the only way to make this kind of stuff flow and stay engaged over time is to have a person, not a machine, use the machines and use all these sites and these tools and ideally build better ones if there are people here who has anyone actually developed technology, unique technology as part of implementing what you're doing here? Or you're more users of? Okay, more users of. But you guys could give that kind of feedback to the platforms you're working with, like Twitter, like Facebook, or if someone's building an in-house social network for you or whatever system you're using, you'd want that kind of, and that's how software works, right? That kind of, this worked, this didn't work, change this. You could do the same thing with everyone you're serving, the Benevolent Society, or works for it, which is an open network kind of way, and the only way to communicate that way is conversationally, which means I'm wrong, I don't know. The assumption of old school presenting and of old school kind of we're in charge and we're going to come down and help these poor people and give them pellets or whatever it is we need, warm bandages. Wasn't UNICEF milk or something? I think it was the beginning of UNICEF was milk in Europe. There's that physical thing, but then there's ideally the relationship and the social message that sends and knowing each, because everything you do gives you a reason to make a social connection with somebody, which is, you're human, we're mammals. It's one of the reasons we do anything is to meet people. That's why you're probably here at a conference with other people instead of home alone in front of a laptop. Kind of. It's why I go to places. People kind of are awesome. So that's kind of why I think this matters a tremendous amount, because if we keep trying to do, especially the kind of social justice you all are trying to do in this sort of we think we have the answer way, I think it's exhausting. I mean, or maybe you've done things that work and you want to share those answers with people, but again, it's kind of going to work more iteratively and conversationally if you're open to getting feedback. So if you have a blog, are there comments? Do you respond to the comments? And you can practice this stuff live and in person by how you do meetings. I mean, how are you listening? If you're within your own organization, do you feel like you can be yourself? Do you feel like you can say what you really think? Why the hell are we doing this? Did this work? This doesn't work. Let's be honest. I mean, if you can't do that, there's no way you're doing it with people outside your organization. And that kind of reality check, that's the beauty of public communication. When it's public, you can get called on your stuff. So that's, to me, the upside of kind of the performance part of life online now. So Brian, do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I do, but 34.
How long have you been online?
On social media?
Just the web.
1997? So what's that? A long time.
Someone else did maths here. A while. A good while. So you're pretty much, you've done it, it's familiar to, like, you don't have to think about it when you're doing it. And wasn't it social for you before social media happened?
Yeah.
So that sense that I can get to know somebody for real and that it matters, and the same stuff kind of works in person, although sometimes it's easier to do it online. Is it easier for you to be open about who you are on the web since social media happened, or no?
I find it easier online than in person.
Really? All right, a little safe. Don't hurt me. I'm behind a laptop right here. And when you're working with, all the youth of Australia, that's a lot of people that you're serving, do you, do they tell you what they want?
We talk. We talk about things that interest them, and I'll raise topics, they'll raise topics, and it's very conversational. It's very much about issues that interest them.
And do they tell you how to fix their problems?
No, that's to a degree. I think what we do at Headspace is try and encourage them to seek help, but that's the key issue for us and probably a lot of other organisations is online, finding that space between promoting help seeking and having discussion about kind of well-being, and then saying, but if you actually need clinical support, this is where you go, but we can help you get there.
I totally miss there's a difference between a space where people can say, you can tell people, like, you can be a cheerleader and say, go get help. But then when they actually need to do it, there's some problem. But I got that more from your affect than I got from, I didn't totally understand what you said. But that's me, I'm a little slow. So you have difficulty with, I was wondering if you ask teens, do they know the answer to I'm depressed? What do you need? Like, could they tell you?
Yeah, we talk about that because I think the thing that's quite interesting for us is that young people don't obviously understand, mental health terminology. They don't use it. So the way that I talk to them is very much in terms of feeling like crap or, feeling really stressed or just not wanting.
So you're using the same language as someone you're talking to, which is a kind of mirroring, which totally works for emotionally. I mean, you can mirror in a lot of ways, and if it's in person, you can also physically mirror. These are kind of key ways in which people feel listened to. You kind of have to, and online you have to mirror in different ways because you're going to have to do it through graphic interfaces or different forms of feedback. But part of also mirroring is, do you ever tell them about your problems too?
Well, I'm kind of online as Headspace. I'm also online as me, but no, I wouldn't.
All right. So do they, because one thing they can initiate, that can get people involved, is you want to design in person or online, have emotional entry points for people. And there's a lot of ways to think about when I have as many as possible. That's where diversity is really a critical kind of design thing. Not because it's like makes us feel good, like we're all the world and isn't that nice, because it's the only way you can, different things are going to be accessible to different people, and so you need not only somebody representationally relatable, but I mean diversity really in a pretty broad way. People whose personalities are different, people whose ages are different, people who believe different stuff. I think God is crazy. I'm super faithful and religious. Lots and lots of different ways that can work because those are gonna give people a chance to enter, but it's very different socially to use them as the place to enter than as the role model example of how to be. That's a very top-down, like Earl's saying, presentational. Like you watch this TV reality shows, I'm sure they're here, where there's like 5 experts who show up and fix your life, or your hair salon, your restaurant, right? Like that whole model, that television model is lived through us. We'll cathartically take care of stuff for you. We are experts, and that's like an anti-conversational mode. It's quite opposite. It's very passive, and it presumes you have problems, we're here to fix them, as opposed to, here's a problem, here's a question, I'm gonna make sure the question keeps getting served, but you might have the answer. In fact, anyone might have the answer. So that's why I'm wondering if the kids sometimes might know actually what might work. Do you ever ask them?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of what we do. So, and we encourage them. So we'll kind of say something like, when you're feeling really anxious, what do you do? How do you deal with it? And here are some ways that Headspace staff deal with it, but what about you guys? And then they'll start talking, but then they'll start supporting one another.
Okay, so which is a more tumbly thing to do. You have a space where the kids see each other.
Yep.
Right, as opposed to having to go through you. Which is the slow thing, like Earl was pointing out. If everybody has to come through you, it takes forever. Okay, so where's a space where they're able to do that?
Mainly on Facebook, but Twitter as well.
Okay, so you're doing it mostly online?
Yes.
Mostly online where they're able to see each other. Do you ever have people together in a room? Does that happen as well? Okay, so part of what will happen when you set that up is that before you get to the diversity and the kind of the little emotional entry points, going first is super helpful, really helpful. And not often seen as proper in a formal adult organization. We're going to be, we have no authority, we'll lose our authority if we admit we don't know something. And I represent a group, not myself. I've stopped being a human being. Here I am. I've got a tie on, or some itchy outfit I had to buy. And here I am to help you, the underprivileged children, or whatever it is. And once you're there, like, you're not so approachable. And also, who wants to, like, I'm sure I don't know your name, but this lady who maybe doesn't even want to let me know her name, Suzanne, it's okay to use your name. Suzanne wasn't comfortable speaking, right? So if I really was like, oh, Suzanne's going to talk anyway, I've got a mic, I've done comedy a long time, I make Suzanne talk. Not only am I going to make Suzanne uncomfortable, I'm going to make every other person in the room who maybe doesn't want to talk uncomfortable. She might get involved later, might talk to someone else if I can help make an environment where that's part of the point of what's going on, and you meet somebody. So everything you do, it's like I'm doing it with you, with Suzanne or Bryony, whether I'm talking to or not talking to, but I'm also, when you do it publicly, doing it with everybody else in the room at the same time. And that's kind of the key difference between public conversation and the kind you have at your kitchen table. Although the kitchen table ones are really important, and they've probably taught you a lot, probably more of what's useful to you in a digital networked world than corporate organized work before. Because all that stuff's just not very workable in a networked world. You know, it all depends on this kind of hierarchical system. We got special language. We're in a silo, an organization. I don't know, like Claire, who drafted what the Benevolent Society does, but it's probably like long, and it's general. We serve hurt people in a giant region, and we do everything. It's very hard to care about something you can't really put your finger on. So, are you able to, when you guys are having meetings internally, are you able to have them as larger conversations, or is there an expectation you've got to get up and say, here's my expertise, just sit there, I'm going to present this thing to you? It's an open-ended question. Well, mistake right there, I just made a big mistake. Okay, I'm just doing exactly what I said not to do. It's too open, if it's too big, there's no way for you to get in. It's kind of overwhelming, like, do we do this big general thing I don't care that much about? She's asking me, maybe I don't feel compelled to respond. So something emotional is much, I broke up with my boyfriend is a little bit clearer, and you might be more likely to help me. Although in my case, my wife is divorcing me, which is very different than breaking up with my boyfriend. And a whole different set of problems, especially because I'm married, there are a lot of states where I'm not married. I'm only married in 5.5 states. And one other country. Am I married here? No, I thought this was like a super progressive, cool country. No? But like I'm not going to go to jail or anything for being me, right? It's not that bad. Seriously? Not that you have to get married. What's that?
Married in Oxford Street in Sydney, but that's not a jurisdiction.
It's like the Castro of Australia? Really? Not as exciting as the Castro? Well, I don't know. Are they lesbians?
There are there, and then there's also, you've got Newtown. So you're probably married in Newtown in Sydney, and maybe Leichhardt. Yeah.
All right, because usually there's some place with a lot more social service work going on where the lesbians live. Because that's our economy that we like to keep going. Places where people are hurt and you don't make very much. It's like important part of how we keep our relationships together, to like help people in pain together. Sorry, that's all. It's not the gay room. That's a funny joke to the one pretend lesbian in the room besides me. Okay, so you don't have that. But that sort of thing, I mean, I learned some of this stuff actually from coming out too, because people all feel like, oh no, this intimate, deep, detail about my life, which I'm pretty comfortable talking about, but it gives you a chance to feel like I'm less, like you could talk to me. You might, I mean, the number of people who are coming up to me after shows and telling me deep secrets, I was like, well, why can't I get you to tell me, the story now of what happened? I mean, what, do you mind telling me your name? Is that all right?
That's fine. Mia. I'm speaking right after you, but I don't want to now.
What's your name?
Mia. Mia.
You want to start with me? Let's do it now. Yeah, come up. No pressure. If you have to do it, you don't have to do it.
I was a lawyer, and now I'm a bureaucrat.
Oh, you were the closet liar. Claire, you have like a colleague here, but you didn't practice.
No, I've actually practiced law, yes.
But not anymore.
In California, like it gets worse.
It's so hard to practice. Do you want to come up with me or no? I don't want you to feel too uncomfortable if you'll be up there in a minute. So you practice, yes, no? Okay, you can stay here. I know everyone's like, go. I will just not destroy Mia for all of your entertainment. Okay, you're still practicing law?
No, it's worse. I'm a bureaucrat now.
It's worse. No, I don't think it's worse. You don't have to write what you did down every 6 minutes, do you?
No, that part of it's much better. That's correct.
You don't have to wear pearls. Like, it's pretty good, I think. Already made progress.
You can see. I've lost a couple.
Well, you had to make up for you get paid for being in pain. That's how a lot of the old economy works. Like, if I'm miserable, we'll pay you more. Okay, good. Which you then can exchange for vodka and therapy and frequent flyer miles are all like interchangeable chocolate. So your what does that mean? What is the thing you work on and help people do?
Trying to get people to connect to the internet and to use digital technologies more effectively.
Because we're using them ineffectively all the time now?
There's 26% of Australians over the age of 15 don't connect to the internet.
They don't have a phone? For reals? The phone is usually the big way.
We have large numbers of phones here. I think we have more phones than people, but only like 30 to 40% are using smartphones that connect to the internet. Yeah.
But she's holding in her hand. If you want to borrow your props, there's like one of each. It's like the Milchik and Fleischik for the 3 Jews in the room. There's your joke of the of phones. Seriously, it's that Gentile, Australia? I'm just learning what's, what the room. We're
going to have to do a whole session for you on Australia. Like, I can tell you parts where you can go.
I'm excited. Well, I'll be doing stand-up on the 6th. We'll see how well it all translates at Spleen, I think it's called. Okay, so you're helping people connect online, and what is it that you specifically get to do, and how big's your organization?
Dude, I think we are about to do my presentation.
Isn't this more fun this way?
Talk about. Yeah.
You're the government. It's just made up of people. That's true, by the way, of all the big corporations, also made up of people, and all the nonprofits, and all the poor, underserved people, also just people. Like, that's kind of the key thing. And the more people are placed on a similar level and conversationally connected to, the faster this stuff gets done, like Wikipedia. It doesn't mean everyone uploads, but you have to be able to. And the only way that works emotionally is to let people know, let's go. I'm going to ask you, I don't know what you're doing. Like, it's so much more useful to not know what you're doing, actually, entirely, than to know, which is a weird mental shift, because you think, who will listen to me? No, who will talk to you? It's a much more important question. People will listen, and if you are actually showing that you've listened to the person, they're much more likely to tell you something else and to listen to the next thing you said. So authority comes from being vulnerable and being yourself. It does, and that's what all artists have always known. It doesn't come from, I'm Steve Jobs and I have a mock turtleneck, It's from you. Don't try to be Steve Jobs. I mean, it's hard enough for him to be Steve Jobs. Like, be you. And hopefully, you say you're a bureaucrat, but when you talk, you guys must use social media. Are you yourself on there? Like, please don't put a generic Headspace or whatever name. Like, please put Mia or whatever. I mean, a person, talk to me. Do you get to do that for your job?
Yeah, well, we've actually had a massive thing going on here, a bit like your open government stuff in the US, like with Beth Novak and everyone. We've had sort of government 2.0, so our department tries to do that a lot, and I've got all my own profiles, but I sort of inherited those and brought them with me because I'm from the private sector, so I have these profiles from my previous times of life.
You can't really escape your life, by the way. I mean, that's the thing about Google. Like, it's all up there in the Wayback Machine. You can find anything else out about you. So, like, the best solution is just sort of live, hopefully, a relatively open, honest life. But so all the people that you guys are serving, whether they don't get online, only 26% get on or don't get on. Don't get on. Like, why? Find out if do they know why? Do they want it? Do you know? You're like, I'm doing too much of your presentation. She's like, slide 6. Oh no, Mia's gonna have slides. Sorry. All right. We gotta. In fact, Mia needs to get up here to talk to you, I think. Which I'm happy to stay and ask you questions if you. We can, but it's Doug. I don't know. You want like a little extra for your flight to bring me over? I'm happy to help. So. If you want some basic notes, if you go to unpresenting.com, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a PDF, and they'll have a long list of presentational stuff and conversational stuff. But I've let note-taking be open at a lot of my workshops. So Beth Cantor, who some of you might know, has some really great notes. They're on her blog. Austin Kleon has some visual notes. And if you just Google, Unpresenting, I mean, I think I linked to most of them from that site. I'm going to do a workshop on the 14th where I help teach people how to do some of this. A little more practice, and sometimes it can be quite emotionally evocative, depending on the room and where you're willing to go. And I think it helps people have a feel for social media, which if you do it well and you're really in it as opposed to watching it and sort of broadcasting, you will feel like you can feel like a community, but community is a feeling. Most of this stuff is a feeling and not an idea when it works. So I would kind of urge you to a couple things to leave you with. One, figure out what feeling you want to create, what it's like to work where you are, and the people you're serving, and the people you supposedly rely on, as Claire said, for funding. Rather than thinking I'm relying, if it's networked, it's less like I depend on you. The lines are more kind of all over the place rather than top down. Maybe there's an opportunity for them too to help you solve the problem. Seeing as like, hey, we have this problem to solve together. Because nothing, I'm quoting one of my mentors, Sarah Little Turnbull, who's one of the first industrial designers, said, to me, nothing brings people together like a shared problem. It's inherently social and emotionally engaging to be doing something together and to care about why and to be more yourself in that process. It helps dissipate some of this formal structuredness that can, frankly, like Earl helpfully pointed out, make things take a lot longer and just not be very fun to do, frankly. And if you're not having fun, like why? If you're not having fun, you could be in the corporate sector, in the dying industrial economy. You could go enjoy that. You might as well have fun and know that maybe you're working with people who know more than you do. So I want to thank Doug and Shai Coggins, who really did a ton of work to help get me here at SHAICOGGINS, and Lisa for helping me out, and Claire and Suzanne and Bryony and Earl and Mia, who I've just preempted half of her talk, for getting together, and a couple of the coders who I didn't get your names. I'm sorry, but I should. What's your name right there? Just so I know it. Yes, you. I can't hear very well. Can you hear? Paul? Am I making that up? That I'm hearing that correctly? Yes. Did you hear it? I've got right. Paul. And who's the other guy over here who's actually going to... You guys should know them, because if you need something made, they're the most important people to talk to in the room. What's your name? James. Okay, Paul and James. Is it funny because it's so bad? Yeah, all right. I can't wait to hear your American accents. They're probably great. And if you want to know more about what I'm doing, please, I will respond to anybody on Twitter, and if I'm lucky, hopefully introduce you to some of each other. And if you have feedback for me about how you think this could be better too, please let me know. I'm always trying to learn and to learn from other people and get better. But thank you for doing good work, and the two lawyers for not being lawyers anymore and still caring about justice. So please, hopefully stay, meet each other. I'll be here for the rest of the conference, and be yourself and tell all your secrets. It's really useful and to me, and I'll happily tell you mine. Thank you.